Good morning. Good Monday morning. Happy Rosh Hashanah and all sorts of wonderful Durga stuff. Anyway, why am I showing you this? I've shown you this before. Uh, Perhaps many times I've shown you this before. Uh, Today's kind of a proud but sad day. This is my pantacle, okay, the Pantacle of LMD, officially it's called. And we're going to talk about it more in a minute. Actually, this is just the design of the pantacle. The actual magical pantacle itself is ultimately immaterial. But for years and years and years, I've used this round piece of wood here, beautiful piece of wood, that I've attached the design of my pantacle to use as a display item at Monday night class when we discuss the four Kabbalistic worlds and the four great names and the infinities of Nuit and Hadit and Rahor Kuit and other things. And I've used it for years and years. Also, it's sort of been the basis of real life work. I helped design cards on this. I've waxed my tarot cards on this. I've folded handouts and other items. I've created the cubes of space out of poster board, and I use this as my work surface. So it's actually been the foundation of my magical work. And I mean, just as a piece of wood, it has. So it's charged with incredible Babylon juju. And when I was approached by the good people at the Buckland Museum of Witchcraft and Magic in Cleveland, and asked for if I could supply them with a magical, personal magical item of some kind to be put on permanent display at the museum, I thought about it a long time, and I thought, maybe I should send them this. And Constance was a little concerned because she said, "You're giving away the basis of our material life." Well, if I actually thought I was doing that by allowing the museum to display this pantacle, of course I wouldn't do that. And of course I will, banish the shit out of it so that any residual, loose Babylon juju won't rub off on anybody unduly or unsuspectingly. So I'm going to talk about this in a second. The back of it is doubly significant to my work, and it is the image of the Sigillum Dei Meth, the Enochian, the John Dee pantacle, the famous John Dee pantacle that was sort of a key piece of furniture and a key pantacle in the Enochian system of magic. And I've used this for decades and decades to illustrate the construction of the sigillum for years at class. And of course, this one is hand drawn, and not a photocopy that's been attached. I really hand drew this one. And so that as well will be, and I've been told it will be put on display in such a way, in a case where you can walk around it and see both sides of the pantacle. And so if you haven't, I've not physically visited the Buckland Museum yet, but I guarantee I will someday. And it's world famous, and it's one of the few museums, legitimate kind of museums, dedicated to the art and practice of witchcraft and magic. And so I'm honored to have this material to be put on display. And in the next couple days, I'm going to be shipping this off for, I don't know how long it will be there. But it will be on permanent display. And I'll give you more details when I know more details. But just to give you a little background about the Pantacle, I submitted an essay. Here's the essay. Here's the essay itself, okay, along with a diagram of it there. Back in August of 1976. Now, this was, excuse me for a second while I play with this stuff. August 14th, 1976 was just a few days after I received my first degree OTO initiation. Now, the first degree OTO is actually the second initiation into the OTO. The first initiation is the 0 degree or Minerval degree, which is sort of a preparatory degree. The first degree proper is just that. It's the first degree proper. And of course, I'm not going to share any proprietary details of an initiation ceremony, either OTO or Masonic, or anything else that's meant to be proprietary. But it was stressed, just generically, the importance of crosses and circles as important mystical symbols. And for that, and as the first magical weapon that the magician makes, the 4 primary weapons being the disc, the sword or dagger, the cup, and the wand. Well, the first one you make is the disc because, like Constance says, it's the foundation of your work. It represents your conception of the universe that you're going to do all your magic in. It's literally the center of the circle you stand on to perform all your magic. And your idea of the universe in your pantacle is your idea of the magical environment that you're in. Should your understanding of the universe be amended or broadened or even diminished, then in a sense you would change your pantacle design. Now, a lot of things have changed in my life, and a lot of things have been amended and evolved and been streamlined. But in these 46 years, I'm still absolutely satisfied with the design on my Pantacle. And so I designed the Pantacle and issued or submitted this little essay here to describe it. And I submitted it to my OTO initiators, Grady McMurtry and Phyllis Seckler, or Hymenaeus Alpha, and Soror Merrill. And I call it the Pantacle of Lon Milo DuQuette in a nutshell. Now that's a Kabbalistic pun in and of itself, or a play on words. It's not a pun. Because there's a famous verse in the Old Testament about Solomon entering into the Garden of Nuts, which might be a good description of getting into occultism and magic. But the idea of the nuts being sort of a Russian doll of life and consciousness and spirituality. There's the hard shell, and then underneath that is a more subtle and pure life form within. And if we're talking about walnuts, you'd even see a germ or a meat of the walnut that even looks like the two lobes of the brain, and within that is the invisible soul, literally the invisible real life of the nut itself. So the allegory of Solomon entering into the Garden of Nuts is a Kabbalistic cliche. Okay. Gee, I'm digressing here. So it's the Pantacle of Lon Milo DuQuette in a nutshell. Okay. And here's what it says. Submitted by LMD. Now that's Lon Milo DuQuette, which is also the Hebrew letter Lamed, spelled in full. Submitted by LMD to Caliph Hymenaeus Alpha, 10th degree, and Soror Merrill, 9th degree, in compliance to a charge given to the newly made man and brother. Now that's the title of the OTO first degree. It's man and brother, or woman and sister. August 14th, 1976 EV. And as an epigram, I use the Song of Solomon quote. I went down into the Garden of Nuts to see the fruits of the valley, and to see whether the vine flourished and the pomegranates budded. That's Song of Solomon, chapter 6, verse 11. And then there's an actual image of the Pantacle there. I designed my Pantacle disc in August of 1976, following my first degree initiation in the OTO. And the footnote there is August 14th, 1976, EV, Dublin, California. Presiding officers, Grady L. McMurtry, 10th degree, 9th degree, 10th degree, Phyllis Seckler McMurtry, 9th degree, and Helen Parsons Smith, 9th degree. My inspiration was a combination of thelemic and Kabbalistic cliches, suggested by some images I had seen by Frater Akkad. Unoriginal as most of the design is, it still has served me well to this point in my magical career. because for the life of me, I can't come up with a better one, vis-a-vis my understanding of the magical universe I inhabit. Here it is in a nutshell. The basic format was suggested by something I had read in Aleister Crowley's Book 4, Part 2. All, quote, all pantacles will contain the ultimate conceptions of the circle and the cross, though some will prefer to replace the cross by a point or by a tau or by a triangle. The vesica piscis is sometimes used instead of the circle, or the circle may be glyphed as a serpent. Time and space and the idea of causality are sometimes represented. Also are the three stages in the history of philosophy in which the three objects of study were successively nature, God, and man. He goes on. The duality of consciousness is also sometimes represented, and the tree of life itself may be figured therein, or the categories. An emblem of the great work should be added, but the pantacle will be imperfect unless each idea is contrasted and in a balanced manner with its opposite, and unless there is a necessary connection between each pair of ideas and every other pair. Unquote. Okay, and this is how I wrote it. I said, okay, let's tackle the circle part first. The ultimate, quote, the first, quote, ultimate conception, unquote, in young Lon's magical reality were two infinities, infinite out and infinite in. I most easily grasp the concept of infinite out as Nuit, the goddess of the night sky. Do you see Nuit here? She's there. Nuit, and spelled with a TH. The outer rim I placed the Egyptian goddess of the night sky. Within her body are all the stars in space. She is the universe ultimately expanded, a sphere with no limit. You can't get any outier than that. And that's just how I said it. You can't get any, quote, outie -er. You can't get any outier than that. On the rim, I placed her name spelled Nuith, a spelling used by both Crowley and Akkad when it pleased them. So why not LMD? Okay, that's one infinite out of the way. To contrast the infinite outness of Nuit, we get the infinite inness, the concept of the universe as an infinitely contracted point that lies at the center of Nuit's expanded sphere. In Thelemic magic, this concept is embodied by the Egyptian-esque god Hadith. I also placed his name, spelled Hadith, on the outer rim of the pantacle. So you see his name starting right here. Hadith. Okay. Two infinite concepts out of the way. Rahur Kuit balances his parents. Now, Rahur Kuit, of course, is this inner HuRuQuette. Let's see. Because Nuit is infinite out and Hadit is infinite in, that means they are both infinitely everywhere. Infinitely touching. His infinite heart beating eternally in her infinite body. This is cosmic lovemaking on an unimaginable scale. The vibration generated by the friction of this universal in and out creates the field of operation for the entire universe to actually manifest. This field of operation is the child of Nuit and Hadit. In the nomenclature of thelemic magic, that is HuRuQuette. I placed his name, not on the outer perimeter of the pantacle with his abstract and unmanifest parents, but on the inside of the pantacle itself, the field of operation. HuRuQuette is the field of operation of the universe. Okay, the cross. Just as Hadit is the center of Nuit's circumference, the center of the cross is a small circle at the very center of the pantacle. Right there. Emanating from this point issue 4 trees of life, representing the 4 Kabbalistic worlds, Atzilith, Braya, Yetzirah, and Asaya. As all Sephiroth are aspects or emanations of the primal Kether, the cross of the pantacle is made up of 37. Now, 37 is the number of Yecheda, the ultimate unity of the soul. So what I'm saying is there's 4 trees of life here, but there's not 40 Sephiroth. There's only 37 because they all share. They all emanate from the primal singularity. All the Kethers, in essence, are one Kether. As all Sephiroth are aspects or emanations of the primal Kether, the cross of the pantacle is made up of 37. Okay, Yecheda, the ultimate unity of the soul in Kabbalah. There are a few other features I won't go into at the moment, like the 11-sided abyss between the perimeter and the field, and the dark circle that backs up the supernal triads, or the 1, 2, and 3, of all 4 trees of life. And that's the brief but spectacular essay on the Pantacle of LMD, soon to be on display, and hopefully on the side card with at least portions of that essay to explain things. And my hand-drawn Sigillum Deamath at the Buckland Museum of Witchcraft and Magic. That's it for today, and I will be sure to tell you when it has arrived and when it is on display, and I urge you to, when you're in Cleveland, to not just visit the Rock and Roll Museum, but to visit the Buckland Museum of Witchcraft and Magic, because the Pantacle of LMD will be there. Until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.